our first repeat guest on the Busy Small podcast.
Wow.
First repeat guest.
Wow.
And to date, only guest.
So this is a big honor.
We actually were going to have a topic to discuss at 10:30, and we decided just, hey, why don't you go ahead and join us at 9:30?
Okay.
You know, you can
I just fill in whenever y'all are talking with like great thoughts. Is that what it comes
great
down
thoughts, ask questions.
Okay.
We probably should let the audience know that we're currently under a tornado warning.
Oh yeah, that did hit at
Yes.
9:30. Yes, about.
We've got about 15 minutes left, 12 minutes left.
Yeah, but don't worry, guys. We're in a really old building with massive windows on the second floor.
The second floor.
So yeah, no,
And a
with
terrifying little
no escape.
stairway to walk down in case that things get
Yeah,
bad.
there's not even an exit sign in here, so I don't even know which way to go.
Wow. Well, this is it. Tracy, Hayes, Connor, Hattie, I love you. I love you. I've left a legacy in your life.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of legacies.
Legacies.
Transitions.
So we did locate a gem in my life, which is a 2-hour VHS tape
my.
of a compilation of our silly videos we made in high school and college.
Yes,
It
is.
literally says the best of Jason and Friends. And the problem we have now is
Finding a VCR.
on a VCR. Yeah, my son walked in and said, "Is this a real VHS tape?" I was like, "Wait, how did you record that?" I'm like, the big thing you put up on your shoulder.
That's right.
And along with it, also another little perk. You know how you buy something and they'll throw in some stuff?
Yes.
While I was in the attic, found the best of Jason, found 2 VHS tapes of my high school basketball games.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
And so, unfortunately, neither of them include us playing Central.
That would have been the gold mine.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did your parents record your games?
I've got some videos. No Trinity Heights.
No, Trinity Heights.
Yikes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad had a video of me playing, and I watched it. It was pretty disappointing watching myself play. These memories, like,
Hey, kids,
I was
watch.
literally a hustler. Good screen, Jason. That was kind of what my big highlight was. And so, not as exciting as I thought it was going to be.
I felt the same way watching the video.
Yeah.
I thought, man, we were bad in the half court.
Here's what's coming down now. Here's the problem that I had is for some reason my dad only wanted to record us on offense.
Oh,
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there was also like a 2 or 3 second delay when he would start and stop. And so like
yeah.
it would like the video would come on. It was like the middle of the player. You see the ball going
ball
in.
just goes in.
Yeah, you're like it stops again.
Just cut to- yeah.
Just clip to clip. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
we couldn't put a
Larry's an offense guy.
tripod up or
Offense guy.
he's all he
You know,
he wanted
just
the
go.
offense.
Not a defense. Drive and kick, shoot threes.
Yeah, 6-13.
Ooh, man.
So kids are out of school in what, 2 weeks?
Yes. So, any big plans this summer with you guys?
We're going to take a little trip. Taking a little trip to
Okay.
to Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Oh, you actually went. You did the Pigeon Forge, Dollywood, all that, right?
Yes.
But you went at the worst time of the year.
Yeah, we got in literally our cabin up on the hill. It was frozen over, and we are trying to go up the hill, and my car starts sliding backwards, and my entire car starts screaming. My middle son, Connor, closes his eyes and says, "I'm going to close my eyes so when I die, I won't feel it."
That's the start of your trip.
That was the start of our trip.
well, after like a 12-hour drive.
Yes, it was beautiful. It was great memories.
So who else is screaming? Your wife's screaming?
Oh, yes. Tracy's screaming. Hayes is screaming. The only person that was calm was my daughter with Down syndrome, who told us all to calm down and said, "Everybody breathe," and went.
Yeah.
And she
they
calmed
don't
us
have
down.
stress.
She had no stress.
No
She was
stress.
like, "This is cool."
Yeah,
and
that's
so it was. But great area. It's beautiful. It was a great trip. Once we settled in.
Why do you think? Does your family know about 613? Is that why they had no faith in your driving abilities in that moment? Or
Well, for me personally, that is a deep scar that It's in a sense how some men come from Vietnam and don't tell those stories to their families. It's very similar for me in 613.
Yeah.
And so Tracy does know about it, but it's
Not the details.
Not the
She couldn't burn her
She
nose.
could not handle those details.
she couldn't.
And so she only knows the brave version of me, not the help version of me.
Yeah.
And so, but I had more abs back then, so
Yes,
that is
you did. Yes.
a good thing.
Yeah.
By the way, how are your massages going? Your deep massage. Last time I was here, we talked about how you had to get those so you could move around.
Yeah,
Still,
I'm due for another one. coming
okay.
up here pretty
Good.
soon.
Good. I want you to
Yeah.
be loose. That's what I pray for you. Is that you be loose.
Yeah, you know how like last week it just happened to be like I was scheduled to go to the chiropractor the next day, which is great. But I'm like just sitting there and go to move, and like I have like a back muscle that pulls. You know, you're just like, what just happened? Like I was just sitting here. You know,
That is
yeah. So,
sad.
I know, right? So now it's like just basic office movements I have to brace for. You know, prepare
Sleeping.
for.
You can get into
Sleeping.
sleep.
Oh, sleeping. Yeah.
Hey, one thing we could
Yeah.
not move past is there was a special day yesterday. Somebody in this room turned 43 years old 2 days ago. And that was our friend, Mr. Leighton Allen.
43.
happy
yeah.
birthday.
Oh, thanks.
How'd it
Thanks.
feel?
We had a good time. You know, pretty normal. Kids sports that evening.
Okay.
You know,
Okay, you're dadding it up that day. Okay.
yeah,
Any
so,
special meal or anything for you that day?
we had some Chinese food.
Okay.
So I did break the diet.
Okay. Okay.
Would you like to give a shout out to a local business?
That was Lynn's Kitchen.
Lynn's Kitchen in
Yes.
Benton.
Kitchen in Benton. You miss it?
I do miss it.
That's a good
good
that's a
spot.
good spot.
Yeah.
my former neighbors.
They
yeah,
are. Yes. At
yes.
Halloween, they would give out fortune cookies.
They would. They absolutely would.
Which is great.
Great people.
Yeah, great people. Isn't that? But yeah, so it would. It was a good evening.
Good.
Yep. That's it.
It's good.
Yeah.
That sounds really exciting. That is a birthday when you're 43 years old. You go to T-ball and you eat Chinese food. So kids, if you're listening, it all goes downhill once you hit a certain
Now I
age.
will say Benton. Josh used to live in Benton.
Yes.
Correct.
Jason's a newer resident.
Yes,
of
I
Benton
am. Yes,
within the
hey
past
guys.
year.
Hey, Benton.
And per capita, we do have some pretty good restaurants.
It has
will have
got-
to
it has
say,
gotten
for a small
better
town,
in the past couple years,
so like,
especially.
when I talk to my friends in Stonewall, they're like, Sonic, the Hunt's Brother Pizza at the gas station.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Probably a bunch of like little, you know how they just like get these portable buildings that they'll just pop up for like snow cones. You know,
Oh, yeah.
those will probably pop up and go away every 6
Yeah.
months in Benton.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean in Stonewall.
Yes.
We have
Yeah.
some like really legit established restaurants.
And it's
in
growing more and
Benton.
more as
It's
well.
growing more and more.
Yeah.
Got a new po' boy shop coming in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really? I did not hear about this. Where is
Right
that?
there, right there next to Sam's.
Southern Eatery?
Yeah, that little
Yep.
sandwich.
Yep.
That little.
Yep.
Some where it is that used to be a shortstop. The owner.
Shortstop. What's shortstop? That's an old burger place.
Yeah,
burger
remember
place.
that? Over on Mansfield, Mansfield, and
yeah.
Yes. I
remember
love
that?
Shortstop.
The tub of fries. Remember those fries? Those seasoned
Frozen
fries.
lemonade.
Oh, I don't know if my family didn't have a whole lot of money, and they would never let us get anything but water to drink. And back then they didn't have
Yeah,
bottled
hydrated
water.
though. You're very hydrated.
Hey, very
Yes.
hydrated. And so
Glass half full.
So it was and my mom disputes this story, but let's be honest, if I remember anything in my childhood, it's food. And they when we would go on trips, we would stop for lunch and every kid would get $2 at Wendy's. Okay. So like if we wanted a soda, we had to sacrifice
The fry.
the fries
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we usually defaulted to, you know, my go-to at Wendy's was a junior bacon cheeseburger.
Good call.
Choice.
Yeah.
And then I would go with the fries.
Yeah.
And then I would get a water cup and make my own lemonade. You know what I'm saying? You just make your own lemonade.
Squeeze the
Squeeze a little lemon, a
sugar in
little
there.
sweetener. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the band days, the guys. I never participated in this, but the guys were known as the Blackwater Bandits.
Okay.
And so essentially, that means you're ordering a water cup, and then you're taking it and filling it with your soda of choice.
Oh,
Well, that's their mistake if they gave you the water cups have to be clear.
Has to
Right.
be.
Yeah, have to be clear. Then you're going with Sprite, trying to get all the bubbles out.
Well, it's clear. No, it's clear. But rock stars are rebels.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Oh, that's right.
That's what they do.
We
So
also
I would do
had
that. So
$2
I would do that with the I would get the 99-cent big gulps at Circle K for 44 ounces,
Phew.
and then fill it up with icy. sorry, Mr. Festervan.
Oh, wow. Listen.
Sorry, Mr. Festervan. Yeah, but I just just the thrill.
We really worked hard to cultivate an audience,
Yeah.
built on
Yeah.
quality leadership
Integrity.
characteristics.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's all gone.
Here we are.
It's all.
Well,
Welcome back, Jason.
Welcome
Thank you.
back.
It's an honor to
welcome
be
back,
here.
Jason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love both you guys. Always enjoy
Yeah.
our time together.
Yes.
Yep.
Me
So-
as well. Me as well. But we wanted to talk to Jason today about a few things.
Okay. Yeah.
Am I in
I have a
trouble?
list. I have a
That's what it feels like. Like I'm called into the office like, so your performance is just not up to par.
Yeah, we wanted to talk to Jason about a few things. Ultimately, running a business can be very stressful,
Yeah.
very
Yes.
hard, very
Yes.
difficult. You are
I'm coming out of probably the most stressful quarter I've had business wise.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to talk to Jason.
Thanks a lot, Biden.
From a
Go ahead.
from a pastor / therapist role in terms of how his perception is of his flock
Yep.
of people, their journey through business, what he sees, what he and then maybe any encouragement from his side of the pulpit, so to speak. So Jason, that's really part of
Okay.
the reason why we're here.
Okay, now I know.
Besides that beautiful story
Yeah.
that we heard earlier, and thank you.
Well, I think the
for sharing.
and we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but the a very idealistic approach is, hey, you can't bring what happened at the house or what happened. You can't bring that into the office. Check your emotions. Same thing with us. It was like, hey, it was time to work. Let's cut off everything that's bothering us, and the kids acting bad or us failing as a parent or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a definitely an emotional. The battle's in our head most days, right?
Sure.
Yep.
So, Jason, let me just ask you. Let's just get it out here on the table.
Throw it on the table,
get it
man.
out
Throw it out there.
What do you see as the main pitfalls for someone who's in business, in the workplace? In terms of maybe let's look at it from the spiritual component. What do you see as the biggest pitfalls that make it to you?
Oh, this is easy. The hardest person to lead is yourself. Whether you're the owner, the manager, the employee, no matter what you are, the hardest person to lead is yourself. And when we're not leading ourselves and we then come to lead others inherently, it's not going to go well. And so if there is, Leighton mentioned just now, the emotional side of your life, right? The day in, day out, parenting, finances, being a spouse, being a friend, being a person, a human, a Christian, whatever your thing is, those things are part of what you bring to the table. And if those things are not healthy, if those things are not in check, if those things are off, whatever you lead is going to be affected. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody this week about just some of the stress, and and he's like, well, what are you doing about it? And so I start telling him what I'm doing about it, and I'm thinking, I literally last week just told 3 of my team members the same thing. Like I was telling
Yes.
them what to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Hey, unplug. There's always going to be more work that has to be done. Your identity is not in what you're doing. And so like I'm saying that, I'm like, literally, I just encouraged my guys with that less than a week ago.
Yep.
But we don't take our own advice, I guess, all the time.
And we never fully arrive. And if we think we've arrived, that's also where we're in trouble, because we always have to, in a sense, there's always a next mountain to climb. Does that make sense? Like, not just in business or in initiatives, but personally, there is always a next mountain to climb with your character. There's a next mountain to climb with your patience. There's a next mountain to climb with how you walk in grace with other people. Does that make sense? And that never ever stops. Yeah.
And I think it's more of a mindset of, it's not, oh, if I can just do this and this and this, then these problems are going to go away. There's going to be a new set of problems, right? Or another mountain. So it's really what's your mindset going into that, right? And so that's one thing I'm working on personally, is not viewing these challenges as a burden, but really, an opportunity to grow, to learn. I keep telling my guys when they're stressed out, hey, this is going to make us better. Think about us going through this in 6 months. We're going to be better because of this problem right here. We're going to fix these processes, fix these things. But then I get in the truck and stress out about it.
So in line of that, Jason, if somebody, is going through this, and how would you talk to them about giving grace to themselves? What's that look like?
Yeah, there's a few things. I think 2 or 3 things I think about. First, it always goes back to identity. It always does. Identity and calling. So you guys have started businesses, you own businesses, and I know you guys well enough to know, I know your faith, and I also know what you were called to, that you weren't called just to go and make money. Right? You were called to help build a business that serves the community, that employs people and provides for your family. That's your calling, right? And so you have to go back to that piece of identity, which of course, from my perspective, a faith perspective, is, for me personally, when my faith is, my identity is secure in what God says about me. Because here's the deal, we tend to do this thing where we think we're the judge of our lives, and God has never made us the judge of our lives. He's the judge of our lives. And if our faith is in Jesus, then we are judged to be right and good and free and adopted and safe and provided for. So it starts there with identity. Second thing I would encourage people to do is to not look back 2 weeks, look back 5 years. When I look at the past few weeks, I get frustrated at my lack of progress, right? If I look back 5 years, there tends to be where I can see, oh, okay, I have grown here, here, and here. And third, this is in the Bible, this is also just true in life. We typically only grow through suffering and through hard things. And so as you're talking about, there's things in business that are hard, those are opportunities and not just obstacles. So
one of the phrases I hear you say all the time, and you didn't make it up, but after you say it for enough, people think you did. But you say,
well, they don't know on the podcast. I could have owned that.
You say we overestimate what we can do in the short term and underestimate what we do in the long term.
That's true. I did not come up with that.
No,
I heard that from lots of people.
But that goes to your second point, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think sometimes the short term can be discouraging, right? And so the long term can be a better perspective.
Yeah.
So
let's get really practical. Okay, so we're, days going normal, everything's fine. We get some bad news or a frustration, or someone just does something just to really get under our skin. Or, you hear somebody's talking about you about this, or this being whatever. And it just kind of derails your emotional state that was in a good place. What is a practical, immediate tool or something that you would advise someone to get through that moment instead of it derailing your day for the rest of the day?
Yeah, we're talking about healthy coping, because the word that we use in the counseling word is deregulation. Is that what happens is through a conversation, through a failure, through your own mind begins to have anxiety, you become what the word is deregulated in your nervous system, and you want to become regulated to where you are basically at a place where you're responding and not reacting. Right? When we're deregulated, think about parenting. Right? Our kid screams and throw something at us. And at that moment, we are deregulated, right? And so are they. Instead of being the calm presence that helps regulate them, we match their unhealthy energy and we scream back, right? It's great parenting. And so we have to learn, how do we regulate ourselves? I think the best thing that helps regulate me is other people. Is if I am having a day or a week where I am feeling like typically I'm not doing enough and I'm overwhelmed. They go hand in hand, don't they? Where you get overwhelmed and you're not enough at the same time. What helps me is to literally talk to somebody else and to share, in a sense, you share the fear.
Yeah.
You speak the fear out loud.
And why is that so hard for us to do? I mean, for me, it's hard, right? I mean, it's not like we're around a bunch of people that are just sharing their feelings all the time, right?
Yeah.
Especially with men.
That's my next thing.
So like, what is it? Why is that so hard for us as men to? We just tend to internalize it and just deal with it.
Yep. We've never been taught how to do it, for one thing. Like, most men are not taught how to process their emotions. They're taught to repress, or they're taught to scream.
Yeah.
And so it's that pendulum swing, right? We repress or we go really hard and really volatile. And so part of it is just we have to learn how to do it. It's like, and so it just takes some practice. It takes, and of course there's the pride piece. Nobody wants to look weak and vulnerable. Nobody, men, women, nobody. And so that kind of creates this pattern that's not good.
Yeah.
Man, that was an excellent answer.
I thought so.
Wow. There is a reason that he's here.
Yeah.
So thank you. Listen.
Yeah, so look, we get free therapy out of this.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
That's what it is.
Now, let's put on the therapist hat,
okay,
if you will. Someone who is consistently having or bumping up on an issue, maybe it's the deregulation issue, or maybe it's anxiety, frustration, and it's all worked up, and it's a big knot within this person. How do you coach them to overcome these different types of perhaps personal frustrations or issues in their life when they're with you? What's that process like?
Yeah, I think there's two things we work on. One is kind of internal, it takes a long time, it's identity piece, and the other is external. So external is just learning coping skills. So if you're walking in anxiety day to day, and it's really stressful, the first thing I want to do is give you some tools today that helps relieve some of that stress. I'd call this like Tylenol for your anxiety, right? Doesn't repair it or fix it, but it helps you get through the day. And this is things like talking to a friend, helps regulate you. For me, a walk outside. Many times me reading a book on leadership, on spiritual growth, helps take my mind away from the immediate problem to what could be. That helps me personally, going from when you're like in the middle of it to like, oh, this is why I'm doing this, that kind of thing. So talking to a friend, a walk outside, sweat is your friend. That is your friend. A lot of times the best thing to do is just to put one foot down and go and start working. Do the next right thing, right? That's when went Frozen 2, I believe. And it is. It's a great message.
It is a great message. Watch Frozen 2.
Watch Frozen 2. Like lots of thoughts, but anyways, so that'd be like the external piece that would like help you walk out the building today and have some helps. The second thing takes more time. It is like, what makes you an anxious person, right? I've used an analogy before in counseling. If I wanted to go run a marathon tomorrow, I could try as hard as I want. It's not going to happen. But if I train for the next 3 to 6 years, I could become the kind of person who could run a marathon, right? And so part of what we do in counseling is I want to train people to be kind of person that's not anxious. And that takes the internal healing work of, a lot of times we've learned to be anxious our entire lives because our parents didn't do something and we had to cover up, and we learned to withhold feelings, and that makes us anxious, or we've learned to cope in really unhealthy ways through food, through sex, through substances, those kind of things, all those kind of bad habits, and we have to basically find some healing, remember who we are, so that we could not be so anxious. Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
It seems like that a lot of your work is not only looking at the coping, but it's trying to look under the hood to see what is causing this coping, and then how do we work towards a better, just balanced state.
And this goes back to that grace for yourself you talked about, and for business leaders, for employees. You got to think most of us, Leighton now is super old at 43 years old and has some habits he's had for 30, 40 years now that aren't great. I'm not calling, we all have that. This is not me picking on you. We all have this, that we tend to do this. We finally recognize something that's not great about ourselves and give ourselves 2 weeks to fix it. Right? And we have 30 years of this being built up in our bodies and the way we live our lives. And that takes time to work out. Yeah. And so,
well, didn't know I was coming to an intervention today.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. How would you, let's talk about taking some of these concepts and applying them to the businesses we own. You know, what does that look like in the workplace, right? Because we kind of have this, a lot of businesses, or it's not really politically correct to really deal with some of this stuff in the workplace. It's like, no, you're here to work, you're here to do your job. But as leaders in the company, what can we do with employees that are deregulated?
Yeah.
Or
I think one thing is our structure is this. Even the church where we're trying to work towards this. This is what I've noticed: when someone is responsible for 4 people, they can care for them much better than when they have 40 people they care for, right? Even as our church grows, this is what I find, because I'm a type pastor counselor, or I want to care for all our people. But as we grow, I can't do that effectively. But I can care for 10 people really well. And I think sometimes we structure things in a way that aren't helpful. That if you have a manager responsible for too many people, they can't effectively manage them. So I think part of managing is not just getting a task done, it's managing the whole person. Not that you have to be a counselor to be a business owner or business manager, but you have to be aware of the realities of the emotional and life things are going to get in the way. And if we are structured in a way where there is, using the phrase direct reports, right? If I'm a manager and I have 30 people that report to me, I'm not going to have the time or the patience to deal with the crap.
Yeah.
And so I think part of it starts with our structure of, are we structured in a way that's healthy enough that we can actually at least be aware of people's life?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 And I think that's,
it can be challenging.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think of that. I think that, and it's funny because we had a topic that we were going to discuss today. Are we still talking about scaling your business? Maybe. Well, so anyways, one of my thoughts on scaling your business.
Do you think
growing,
with me here that I can't keep up with that? Like I can't scale with y'all?
But just even thinking of that, we have got to empower people in our organization to do certain things, right? And this is one of them. I mean, it goes across the board, but we can't be all things to all people. So we have to have people that we empower to lead others.
Yeah, and I think part of it's training your managers, and there's all these things, processes you're creating, and expectations and deadlines and stuff that you want to meet. I think it's adding that 5% that helps them learn how to effectively coach the whole person. Yeah, it's just the connection piece. That I don't think it has to be anything massive, but if you have a once a month meeting, like even our church with our staff, I've tried to have a state meeting once a month with each of our staff, and I just finished a book by an author. I won't say his name because he's screwed his life up. But anyways, but he has this idea: we can't go into meetings and without checking on the person first. Yeah. And so I would encourage a great practice for any kind of, whether it's a staff meeting, whether it's a one-to-one, is you have to check on the person first. Yeah. Which means we have to actually care. Yeah. And
I've had situations where people in the organization don't feel like I care about them, but it's literally because I don't have the capacity to care for them. Right. And so like I'm at the place now where I'm giving care to my managers and leaders. Right. I just don't have the capacity, not being I mean to them, but I can say hey to them and smile, but I can't engage in those long conversations with everybody. And so it's really, you're right, empowering them. And it's funny because my managers I know if they're doing their job by looking at the scoreboard or the dashboard I have set up, and it's all number driven, right? It is all based off of, you did these things and the result was these things. It's not, have to do with any kind of, and I don't even know how you measure that, right? Because that's what we're told is your goals have to be measurable. Well, How do you put that into a goal that, you know, the people you are leading are
emotional
happy
health.
or have a friend, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, I think the only way you can do that is you know, by asking.
Yeah.
On a 1 to 10, how happy are you with your life and your job?
Yeah.
Is there somebody at this workplace that you feel like you can confide in and connect with? Those kind of things. You know, but that's hard to measure.
I remember one of the books we read a long time ago. I don't know if it's Good to Great or if it was The Strength Finder or something like that, but they say the number one factor of someone staying at a place of employment is they have a friend at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a friend at work? Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely.
Well, so that's true in the church world too.
Yeah.
Like when you see people that leave the church, it's almost always, it's not like something that was preached. It's normally either they haven't found a friend or connection at the church, or their friend, they had some kind of relational dispute and they step away. And it's because we're relational people. It's even why I said when you are dysregulated, what's the best thing to help regulate you? Another person.
Yeah.
It's called co-regulation.
Yeah. And you know, going back to that deregulation, I was thinking this while we're talking. The plan has to be put in place when you're regulated.
Yes.
Because what tends to happen is when we are deregulated, if we haven't already, like, we're going to run and hide.
Yes.
We're not going to press in. And so we have to have people, or we have to, in a regulated state, go and talk to 2 or 3 people and say, hey, this is a pattern in my life.
I'm in a bad,
I get deregulated when I get stressed out. It's not good for me. I need somebody I can talk to in those moments. Will you be that person?
That's right.
And that way, when you call and talk to them, they're ready for it, right? Or maybe they're deregulated and they're like, hey, it's not a good time for me to answer this, right?
Yep.
And so it just kind of gives them the heads up. And I even say, I would even go further into that and say, you know, this goes back to the podcast Primal Questions. Yeah. Go listen to that. You know, I don't know what episodes they were.
Episode 3, I believe. Sponsored by.
But you know, it goes back and says, hey, when I'm deregulated, this is what I'm telling myself.
Yep.
And this is how you can help me come out of this. You're right.
Great book on that is John Acuff Soundtracks, where he talked about this idea that many times our soundtracks are just off, the way that we speak to ourselves. And he has 3 kind of guidelines for how you speak to yourself. First, is it true? Second, is it helpful? Third, we tell it to a friend. And if one of those three things is not there, don't say it to yourself. If it's not true, obviously, it's not helpful. What's the point? And if you wouldn't say it to a friend, why would you say it to yourself? I think that's so helpful in my life. I tend to tell people, always think about coping. You know, I'm a big craftsman. I'm a fix stuff, build stuff around the house.
Yes.
Always tool belt is like, you know, every year.
You're always at the cheap stuff, the Ollie's cheap stuff, getting stuff.
Live there. My hand's sawdust right now all over me, and love that smell.
Huge account at Ivy's, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always. We'll talk about my bill later. Hopefully, this will help cover some of that cost. But what I tell people is think of companies like a tool belt.
Yeah.
So that whenever something does happen, it's the Mike Tyson quote, right? Everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
And so life's gonna hit you in the mouth.
Yeah.
And so what's your plan when life's gonna hit you in the mouth? And so hopefully you have some friends, you have some things that help calm you down, regulate you. Yeah.
So I think this is a great stopping point for the episode that we have here.
Okay.
Jason, this has been phenomenal.
Yep.
You, without knowing what we were going to ask, you've absolutely destroyed it. I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah.
And we look forward to the next episode with you.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Not on scaling your leadership. Yes.
Yes.